Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. It's October in Toronto, and while the maple leaves are red outside the window, the sky is drizzling. Liam Sullivan stood in the center of the newly opened restaurant, his eyes constantly scanning the doorway while the champagne in his hand had lost its initial bubbles. Surrounded by friends, partners, and a few regular clients who had come to support them, the sounds of their conversations and laughter filled the space but couldn't hide Liam's inner turmoil. "She'll be here," his partner Malik said as he came over, tapping him on the shoulder and handing him a glass of whiskey. "Maybe it's just traffic." Liam forced a smile and pulled out his phone to check it again. No missed calls, no texts. The time displayed on the screen was 7:45 p.m., nearly an hour after the opening party had officially begun. Naomi and her mother were supposed to be there by 6:30. He dialed his wife's number. 1, 2, 3 beeps later, someone finally answered. "Naomi, where are you? We've been waiting for you." Liam tried to control the anxiety in his tone. There was background music and talk and laughter on the other end of the line. Then Naomi's voice. "Oh, is that today?" The question stabbed Liam in the heart like a knife. They just talked about this last night, and she even helped him pick out his tie. "We had a deal. The restaurant opens today, and you and Fiona both promised to come. Sophie's asked 3 times now where you are." After a brief silence, a sneer came from the other end of the line. "It's going to go out of business soon anyway." Huh. There was an unfamiliar sneer in Naomi's voice, and Liam hardly recognized it as his wife of 12 years. Then he heard another female voice in the background, apparently his mother-in-law Fiona. "Leave us alone." The phone hung up abruptly. Liam stood there, cell phone still pressed to his ear, as stiff as if he'd been struck by lightning. The laughter in the restaurant blurred into a buzz in his ears. "Daddy, when is Mommy coming?" 8-year-old Sophie asked, taking his hand, her big eyes full of anticipation. Liam crouched down and gently stroked his daughter's hair. "Mommy might be a little delayed. Let's have some good food first, okay?" Sophie nodded, but was clearly less than convinced. The bright little girl has become increasingly sensitive lately, and perhaps she senses the changes in the house before Liam does. Malik walked over and asked in a low voice, "Is everything okay?" "I don't know," Liam replied honestly, his voice shaking a little. "But we have guests to entertain, right?" He turned, squeezed out a professional smile, and walked toward the center of the restaurant to prepare his speech. It was the moment he had dreamed of when the restaurant, in which he had invested all his savings and efforts, finally opened. However, at this moment, he only felt an inexplicable fear, as if he was standing on the edge of a cliff with bottomless darkness in front of him. 12 summers ago, Liam first met Naomi in the kitchen of an old apartment building in downtown Toronto. At that time, he was an ordinary plumber assigned to fix a leaking sink. "I can't stand this sink anymore. The sound of water dripping every night just drives you crazy," Naomi grumbled, while tying her long hair into a casual bun. She was dressed in a casual t-shirt and jeans, nothing elaborate, but that natural beauty immediately attracted Liam. "Looks like a seal problem," he said, crouching down to check under the sink. "I'll fix it soon." During the repairs, they chatted. Naomi was just starting her career at a small real estate company and was full of excitement for the future. Her laugh was like a summer wind chime, light and pleasant, and Liam couldn't help but want to hear it more often. "That should be fine," Liam said half an hour later, closing the toolbox and looking at the repaired sink with satisfaction. "If there are any more problems, you can contact me directly." He handed her a business card. "Thanks." Naomi took the card, her fingertips touching his hand briefly. "You're much more professional than the last fixer-upper." Liam thought it was just an ordinary job, but to his surprise, 3 days later, Naomi called to talk. It wasn't that there was a problem with the sink, but that he was invited to dinner as an extra thank you for his efficient work. They met at a small restaurant, and the conversation that night extended from work to their respective dreams. Liam tells her that he hopes to one day own his own restaurant, a cozy place that serves unique recipes passed down from his grandmother. "I used to help out in my grandmother's kitchen when I was a kid," he recalls, with a passionate gleam in his eye. "And that's when I learned that food isn't just a necessity for sustaining life, it's a bond that connects people." Naomi gazed at him, a gentle smile on her lips. "It's beautiful, and it's a blessing to have your own dreams." "What about you? What's your dream?" I want to own my own high-end real estate brokerage downtown. Her eyes lit up and help people find the home of their dreams. I just started this job not long ago, but I know I'll do well. Their first date ends in laughter and empathy, and a natural closeness develops between the two. Over the next few months, they dated frequently and realized they had a lot in common: a love of work, a desire for the future, and a focus on family. 6 months later, on a snowy Christmas Eve, Liam proposes to Naomi under a maple tree decorated with colored lights. I know I'm just an ordinary plumber now. I don't have a mansion. I don't have an expensive car, he said as he got down on one knee, holding a simple but carefully chosen diamond ring in his hand. But I promise I'm going to do everything I can to fulfill our dream and give you a happy home. Snowflakes fell on Naomi's eyelashes and her eyes blurred with tears, but she nodded without hesitation. I do, Liam. I don't need a mansion or a fancy car. I just need you. It was one of the happiest moments in Liam's life, and he felt like the whole world was blessing them. For the first few years of their marriage, they rented a small apartment and worked together on their respective dreams. Liam is a hard worker. His skills are improving and his reputation with clients is growing. Naomi is also slowly getting her feet wet in the real estate industry, with mediocre results, but enough to make ends meet. Their lives are simple and fulfilling, and each day is warmed by each other's company. Sophie's arrival added a new dimension to their lives. When Liam held his newborn daughter for the first time, looking at her wrinkled little face and clenched little fists, he felt a sense of responsibility and protectiveness that he had never felt before. She's beautiful. Naomi smiled tiredly, lying on the hospital bed. Just like you. She looks like you, Liam whispered, kissing his wife on the forehead. Thank you for such a perfect gift. To better support Sophie, they moved to a slightly larger apartment in a regular Toronto neighborhood. Liam started taking on more work and sometimes had to go out and solve urgent problems for clients even at night and on weekends. I don't like that you're always out of the house, Naomi complained one night when he got home late for emergency repairs on a burst pipe. Sophie tried to walk on her own for the first time today, and you missed it. I'm sorry, Liam said sincerely, guilt coming in like a tidal wave. But that family's kitchen was flooding and I couldn't not go. Naomi sighed. I know, I wish we had more time together. Understanding his wife's feelings, Liam began to plan his time more carefully, making sure that at least 2 evenings a week and all of Sunday were reserved for his family. They would take Sophie to the park or watch movies at home, cook dinner, and create all kinds of cozy family time. However, over time, some subtle changes began to occur in their marriage. Naomi's mother, Fiona, never liked Liam much. In her eyes, her daughter deserves better than a laborer who can only fix plumbing. At every family gathering, she would always offhandedly bring up how successful Naomi's former classmates were, how they were married to doctors or lawyers, lived in mansions, and drove luxury cars. Did you know Emily just moved into a new house in Forest Hill? That's one of the best neighborhoods in Toronto, Fiona told Naomi once over a cup of tea, purposely raising the volume so that Liam could hear as well. Her husband got promoted to vice president this year, and they just got back from a vacation in Europe. Liam noticed Naomi's expression change, a flash of envy and loss in her eyes. Although she never directly complained about their living conditions, that latent dissatisfaction began to affect their relationship. Meanwhile, the rise of social media has inadvertently exacerbated this discontent. Naomi started swiping Instagram and Facebook frequently, following high-end lifestyle and luxury accounts. She spends more time dressing up, buying bags and clothes that look expensive but are actually knockoffs. What do you think of this dress? One day she asked Liam, showing off a pricey designer dress. I want to wear it to the company's annual meeting. Liam looked at the price tag and frowned. Honey, this dress is going to cost us 2 weeks of our food budget. But it's important for my professional image, Naomi insists. If I look more professional and successful, clients will trust me more. Eventually, Liam agrees, always having a hard time saying no to Naomi's requests. However, such scenarios begin to become more frequent, and their savings grow slowly while Naomi's desire for material things seems never-ending. When Sophie was 5 years old, Liam decided it was time to take a substantial step towards his dream. Over the years, he has been learning to cook in his spare time, improving his grandmother's recipes and even taking a couple of short-term cooking classes. He began to seriously consider the possibility of opening a small restaurant. "I thought we could use our savings to open a restaurant," he told Naomi one night when Sophie was asleep. "Nothing too big, just in the neighborhood, serving home-cooked food and specialty desserts." Naomi's reaction was unexpected. "Are you serious? Giving up a stable plumbing job to open a restaurant? Do you know how many restaurants go out of business in their first year?" "I'm not giving up plumbing completely, at least not until the restaurant is stabilized," Liam explains. "And I've done a lot of research, found a good location with reasonable rent, and talked to a few vendors." Naomi shook her head. "What about our house? Didn't we agree to save up and move to a better neighborhood? We'll have more income when the restaurant is successful." Liam tries to convince her. "It's not just about the money, Naomi. It's my dream. It's like you want to have your own real estate company." The mention of her own dream seemed to touch Naomi, her expression softening a bit. "I was just worried that it was too risky. But if it really means that much to you, I'll support you." Liam kissed her gratefully. "Thank you. I promise I won't let you down." In the months that followed, however, Naomi's support gradually turned into grudging tolerance. Whenever Liam brings up the plans for the restaurant, she becomes distracted or makes excuses to leave. He begins to wonder if she really supports his dream, but doesn't want to start an argument, so he chooses to take on the stress and excitement of planning alone. During this time, Naomi's work situation also changed. The small real estate company she worked for was acquired by a large chain of real estate groups, bringing in new colleagues and management. This includes new marketing manager Ashton Wells, a well-spoken man with a polished appearance. Naomi first mentioned Ashton with obvious admiration in her tone. "The new marketing manager is amazing. He used to work in New York and dealt with a lot of high-end properties. He said I had potential. I just needed the right guidance." Liam didn't care too much at the time, happy that his wife had met a boss who appreciated her abilities. However, over time, Ashton's name came up more and more frequently in Naomi's mouth. Ashton invited the whole team to a party on his yacht next week. Naomi announced excitedly at dinner one day. He said it was to celebrate the quarterly results. "Yeah?" Puzzled, Liam asked. "I didn't realize a real estate manager's salary could afford a yacht." Naomi laughed softly and shook her head. "Not his own, his friends. Ashton knows a lot of successful people." The following weekend, Naomi went out for a yacht party after getting all dressed up. She returned late that night, her face glowing with excitement and smelling faintly of alcohol and perfume. "Having fun?" Liam asked, trying to hide his unease. "Fantastic." Naomi seemed to be reminiscing about the good times. "You wouldn't believe how luxurious that yacht was. We sailed along Lake Ontario, enjoying the city at night, sipping champagne and listening to live music." She rattled off a description of the party, and Liam could only manage a smile. He suddenly realized that it had been a long time since he had seen his wife so excited and energetic. After that, Naomi began frequenting various work-related social events, most of which involved Ashton. She bought more expensive clothes and accessories, claiming it was a necessary career investment. Her work hours became irregular, and she often returned home late, sometimes all night, explaining that she was with an important client or attending an industry event. Liam tries to believe her. After all, they've lived together for so many years, have a wonderful daughter, and a family they've built together. However, a voice grew louder and louder in his mind. Something wasn't right. Meanwhile, he and his friend Malik finally found a suitable site and started renovating their little restaurant. Liam has invested a lot of time and energy into the business and hopes to open soon. The restaurant became a haven from his family's discord, where he could focus on realizing his dreams and forget for a while about the problems that plagued him. One afternoon, while he was testing new dishes in the cafeteria, Sophie's school called to say the little girl had a fever and needed someone to pick her up. Liam immediately dropped what he was doing and rushed to the school. "Where's Mom?" Sophie asked weakly when Liam picked her up. "Mommy's at work, baby," he replied softly. "But Daddy's here, and I'll take care of you." He called Naomi 3 times, all unanswered. Finally, he sent a text telling her that Sophie was sick and that he had picked up his daughter and brought her home. It wasn't until 9 p.m. that Naomi replied with a brief, "Sorry, in the middle of an important meeting, you deal with it." Liam took care of Sophie all night long, feeding her medicine, taking her temperature, and telling her stories to put her to sleep. Naomi finally came home at noon the next day, looking exhausted, but with a strange gleam in her eyes. "How's Sophie doing?" she asked, setting down her handbag. "Fever's gone down, but still resting," Liam replied calmly. "Your session lasted all day and night?" Naomi avoided his gaze. "No. Then there was a potential client who wanted to see a late-night viewing, and then it was too late, so I stayed the night at Emily's." Liam stared at her. "Really?" "Because I just called Emily, and she said she hadn't seen you in months." It was a lie, and he hadn't called Emily, but Naomi's reaction confirmed his worst fears. She blinked in panic, her lips quivering slightly. "I meant Elaine, not Emily," she quickly corrected. "You know I always confuse those names." Liam didn't press the issue, just turned silently and walked towards the kitchen. He needs time to think and hard evidence, not accusations based on suspicion and hunches. Over the next few weeks, he began to pay more attention to Naomi's movements. Her cell phone always has a passcode and is never left unattended. She has started wearing a new perfume. She turns her back when she receives a text message and replies to it. And she has drastically decreased her attention to family matters, acting distracted by Sophie's school activities and Liam's progress at the restaurant. One night, when Naomi says she's going to a gathering of female real estate professionals, Liam decides to take a chance and find out what's going on. He asks Malik to watch Sophie, and then drives to the restaurant Naomi mentioned. The restaurant does have a group of women gathered, but Naomi is not among them. Liam waited in the parking lot for a while, then saw his wife's car pull in, but she didn't get out. A few minutes later, a black sedan pulls up next to her, and Naomi quickly transfers to that car. Liam recognized the driver as Ashton. He followed them to an upscale hotel downtown and watched them walk into the lobby holding hands, an intimate gesture that needed no words to explain. At that moment, he felt an unprecedented pain and betrayal, as if his whole world was falling apart. Liam wanted to rush up to them and question them, to yell and scream, to vent his anger and pain. But he didn't. He sat in his car, letting the tears run silently down his cheeks, and then slowly drove away. On the way home, he thought over and over about what to do next. Direct confrontation? Divorce? Holding back for Sophie? Every option is fraught with uncertainty and pain. When he arrives home, he finds Sophie asleep and Malik waiting worriedly in the living room. "You okay, man?" Malik asked, noting Liam's pale face and red eyes. Liam shook his head, unable to put into words what he was feeling. "I don't know what to do, Malik." "I'll support you in whatever you decide to do," Malik said firmly. "But first, you need to make sure you and Sophie are safe." Liam barely closed his eyes that night. He looks through wedding photos, pictures of family trips and images from Sophie's birth, reminiscing about happier times in the past, and thinking about where and when things started to go wrong. The next morning, he dropped Sophie off at school and then made a trip to the lawyer's office to learn about possible legal options. The attorney advised him to gather more evidence and begin protecting his property and rights. In Canada, being able to prove spousal infidelity and neglect of the family can go a long way towards getting child custody, explains the lawyer. But you need hard evidence, not just speculation. Over the next few days, Liam begins secretly documenting Naomi's whereabouts and lies. He installed a family location sharing app, claiming it was for security reasons, when in reality, it was to track her location. He saved screenshots of her texts and call logs. He even hired a private investigator to follow her and Ashton and take pictures of them together. In the meantime, renovations and preparations for the restaurant are nearing completion. The opening date is set for mid-October, right in the middle of Toronto's maple leaf season, which is prime time for the restaurant's business. Despite the pain, Liam is still fully engaged in his work, as if this is the only way to forget the pain for a while. A week before the opening, he made the official announcement to Naomi. "You said you'd tell me the opening date," she said with some surprise. "I need to schedule it." "I've told you several times, but you always seem to be busy with other things," Liam replied calmly. "Next Saturday night at 6:30, the party starts at 7. Your mother is invited too, and I've sent her an invitation." "I'll be there," Naomi assured, but her eyes drifted. "I'm proud of you, Liam. I really am." In that moment, Liam almost wanted to believe her, wanted to hold on to this faint glimmer of hope and pretend everything was okay. But the latest photo sent by the private investigator, Naomi and Ashton kissing on his apartment balcony, douses that fantasy like a pot of cold water. On opening day, Liam arrived at the restaurant early to personally inspect every detail. The dining room was small, but cozy and comfortable, with an old picture of his grandmother's kitchen and some family photos on the wall. The menu combines traditional dishes with innovative elements at moderate prices and is geared towards families and friends. He had prepared for this day for a long time, and it should have been filled with joy and fulfillment. However, the worry and uneasiness in his mind grew stronger. Nonetheless, he's still hoping that Naomi and Fiona will come, and that this momentous occasion will be an opportunity to repair their relationship. At 6:30, the first guests began to arrive. At 7 o'clock, the party officially started and Malik helped entertain the guests while Liam kept checking his cell phone and the door. At 7:30, there was still no sign of Naomi or Fiona. At 8 o'clock, when he finally relented and called his wife, the response he got completely shattered his last hopes. "It's going to go out of business soon anyway." Huh. Naomi's mocking voice was drunk and contemptuous. "Leave us alone." It was the sound of Fiona shouting. When the phone hung up, it was as if Liam's strength had been drained from his body. It was at that moment that he realized his marriage was over. Not because of Naomi's cheating, not because of her lies, but because she completely ignored his dreams and chose to publicly humiliate him when he needed support the most. He looks around and sees Sophie playing with Malik's daughter, the expectant faces of his friends, and the little restaurant that unites all his dreams. An unprecedented calmness and determination formed in his mind. Liam walks towards the center of the restaurant and taps his glass gently to get everyone's attention. "Thank you all for coming to the opening party for Sullivan's Corner." His voice was firm and clear. "This restaurant has been a dream of mine for many years, and today it is finally a reality. It stands for family, tradition, and genuine caring, values that I have always held most dear." He looked around at everyone in the room and continued, "In life, we are faced with a variety of choices and challenges. Sometimes the people we think are our supporters can let us down, while true friends stand by us in the toughest of times. Tonight, I want to give a special thanks to those who have been supporting me for your trust and friendship." The guests applauded and raised their glasses in celebration, and no one noticed the flash of determination in Liam's eyes. After the party, as Malik helped clean up, he carefully asked, "Is Naomi okay? Why didn't she come?" Liam took a deep breath and spoke the truth for the first time. "Naomi cheated on me, with her boss. I think our marriage is over." Malik looked at him in shock. "I'm sorry, man. I didn't know. What are you going to do?" "I wasn't sure," Liam admitted, "but I knew I couldn't go on like this. I need to make a change for Sophie's sake and for my own." On the way home, Sophie had fallen asleep in the back seat. Liam looked at his daughter's angelic face in the rearview mirror and made his decision. He doesn't get excited about confrontation. He doesn't retaliate impulsively. He doesn't let his anger control his actions. Instead, he will calmly, rationally, and systematically fight for the dignity and future he and his daughter deserve. As he drove into the residential neighborhood, he saw Naomi's car already parked in the driveway. That meant she was already home, probably waiting for him, ready with a string of excuses and lies. But this time, Liam is no longer willing to accept any excuses. He pulls over and picks up a sleeping Sophie from the back seat. The night breeze was cool, and the maple leaves in the distance showed their deep red color under the streetlights. Liam stood in front of his house, took a deep breath, and pushed the door open. A new chapter is about to begin, and the price of betrayal will be paid by everyone involved. The moment he pushed open the door to his house, Liam had expected to see something. Naomi lying on the couch, pretending to watch TV or swipe her phone, feigning that everything was normal. Still, the sight before him made him pause for a moment. The living room was dark, with only a soft glow from the table lamp. Naomi reclined on the couch, half a glass of red wine in her hand, her eyes staring vacantly out the window. She didn't even turn her head to look at the movement in the doorway, as if she was lost in her own world. Without a word, Liam gently carried Sophie upstairs and laid his daughter on the bed, carefully tucking her in. He stood by Sophie's bedside, gazing at the innocent child, the pain and determination in his heart growing at the same time. "I'll protect you, baby," he promised in a low voice. no matter what happens. Back downstairs, Naomi is still in that position, only the glass is empty. Liam walked across to her and sat down, deciding to break the silence. "Why didn't you come to the opening party?" he asked bluntly. Naomi turned her head to look at him then, her eyes tired and a hint of provocation. "I told you, I'm not okay. What could be more important than the fulfillment of your husband's years-long dream?" Liam calmly asked. "More important than your daughter waiting for her mom to show up?" Naomi sighed and put down her glass. "Can we talk tomorrow? I'm tired." "No, we're talking now." Liam's voice was low and firm. "Unless you'd rather talk about Ashton Wells." The name exploded like a bomb in the room. Naomi's expression freezes, a mixture of horror and anger flashing in her eyes. "You're spying on me?" She immediately shifted to the defense, her voice raised a few notches. "I don't need to spy on you," Liam replied, keeping his cool. "Your lies are too obvious. Where are you and Fiona tonight? Or more accurately, where are you and Ashton?" Naomi's lips pursed into a line as she seemed to weigh how to respond. Eventually, she chose to go on the offensive. "You know what, Liam, I'm sick of this life. You were always too busy with your job and that ridiculous little restaurant you have now to ever care about my needs, my dreams." "I don't care about your needs," Liam repeated incredulously. "I supported all of your decisions, and I agreed to almost everything you wanted to buy, even if it meant delaying our move or cutting other budgets. I've been to every important work event you've had, taking care of Sophie so you could focus on your career. And you not only didn't show up when I needed support the most, but you mocked my dreams over the phone." "Oh, come on," Naomi snorted. "That's not a dream. That's escapism. Do you know how many restaurants go out of business in their first year? We could have used that money to move to a better neighborhood, put Sophie in better schools, and live the life we deserve." "The life we deserve? Or the life you deserve?" Liam asks rhetorically. "We used to share a dream, remember? I supported you in pursuing your career, and you said you'd support me in opening a restaurant. What changed you, Naomi?" Naomi stood up and looked at him condescendingly. "I grew up, Liam. I realized that life is more than cozy little restaurants and weekend family picnics. I want more. I deserve more." The arrogance and contempt that dripped from her words sent a wave of heartache through Liam. But he didn't let his emotions get the better of him. "So Ashton gave you more?" he asked calmly. Naomi's expression became complicated with surprise, shame, and a twisted hint of pride. "Ashton at least has ambition. He understands my value and knows what heights I can reach. He won't trap me in this mediocrity." "What about Sophie? Is she part of your mediocre life?" The question seemed to sting Naomi, and her expression softened for a moment. "Sophie certainly isn't. I love her, and she will always be my daughter." "You love her but aren't there when she needs you," Liam notes. "You're too busy dating Ashton when she's sick. You choose to disappoint her when she's looking forward to seeing her mom at her dad's restaurant opening party. Don't use Sophie to accuse me." Naomi suddenly got agitated. I just need some space and time for myself. You don't understand how exhausting it is to be a mother and a wife, always having to think of others and sacrifice for them." Liam looks at her deeply, and for the first time truly realizes that the woman in front of him is not the same Naomi he has loved for 12 years. "I fully understand the meaning of sacrifice," he said slowly. "I've sacrificed my time, my energy, and sometimes even my dignity, just to give you and Sophie a better life. But apparently that wasn't enough for you." Silence spread between the two. Eventually, Liam stood up, his tone determined. "I'm going to take Sophie and move out for a while." Naomi looked at him in surprise. "What? You can't take her." "I can, and I will," Liam said calmly. "Unless you end your relationship with Ashton right now and commit to us fixing this family together." Naomi's face turned pale. She obviously hadn't expected such an ultimatum. "You're threatening me?" "No, I'm protecting my daughter," Liam replied. "I don't want her to live a life of lies and betrayal." "The choice is yours, Naomi." He turned to go upstairs and began packing his and Sophie's necessities. Naomi followed him, hovering in the bedroom doorway. "You really want to do this?" Her voice shook a little. "You're going to destroy the family?" Liam stopped what he was doing and sighed deeply. "No, Naomi, it's your choices that are destroying this family." Half an hour later, Liam arrives at Malik's house with a groggy Sophie in his arms. His friend took them in without saying a word and prepared guest rooms for them. "You can stay as long as you want," Malik said firmly. "Whatever help you need, just ask." That night, lying in a strange bed, Liam tossed and turned. He thought back over the past 12 years and pondered the road ahead. He felt sadness, anger, betrayal, but strangely, also a sense of relief, as if a stone that had long been weighing on his heart had finally been removed. Early the next morning, Liam takes Sophie to school and then goes straight to the lawyer's office. He decided to stop waiting passively and take control of the situation proactively. "I want to officially start divorce proceedings," he told his lawyer. "And in the meantime, I need to secure custody of Sophie and my property." The attorney, an experienced woman, nodded. "Given the amount of evidence you've gathered, we have a good basis for getting the result you want. I must warn you, however, that the process can be difficult, especially if the other party doesn't cooperate." "I understand," Liam said, "but I have no choice. I can't let Sophie continue to live in this environment." Over the next few weeks, Liam ran the newly opened restaurant while working closely with his attorney to prepare the materials for the divorce proceedings. Surprisingly, the restaurant is doing better than expected. Maybe it's because of the community's curiosity about the new restaurant, or maybe it's because Grandma Liam's unique recipes are really impressing patrons. But in any case, reservations have begun to be required in advance. Meanwhile, Naomi seems to realize the gravity of the situation. She began calling and texting Liam frequently, sometimes angrily accusing, sometimes crying and pleading, trying to get him to come around. "You can't just take Sophie away," she cried over the phone at one point. "I'm her mother. I have a right to see her." "I've never stopped you from seeing her," Liam replied calmly. "You can always come to the restaurant or contact the school to arrange a visit. But Sophie will be staying with me for now until we resolve the custody issue through the legal process." However, Naomi's actions do not match her words. She often canceled appointments with Sophie, citing busy work schedules or ill health. On one of the rare occasions when they meet, Sophie comes back looking down. "What's up, baby?" Liam asked worriedly. Sophie hesitated, then whispered, "Mom said you kicked us out of the house, that you didn't love us anymore. She cried all the time and said that if I loved her, I should live with her." Liam felt a surge of anger, but he got it under control and knelt down to look his daughter levelly in the eyes. "Listen, Sophie, no matter what happens, Daddy and Mommy love you. We have some adult issues to work through right now, but that's none of your business. You don't have to choose whose side to take, and you shouldn't feel guilty about our problems. Understand?" Sophie nodded, but the confusion and pain in her eyes made Liam's heart ache. He realized that no matter how hard he tried to protect his daughter, the breakdown of this marriage had inevitably affected her. Meanwhile, he gets more information about Ashton from a private investigator that is deeply disturbing. Ashton Wells is not as glamorous as it seems. He has had 2 failed marriages, both of which ended in infidelity. His great experience in New York was actually forced out because of an office scandal. And, most worryingly, he seems to have a pattern of using his position to develop relationships with female subordinates. Liam begins to wonder if Naomi understands Ashton's true nature and realizes that she may just be another target on his list of conquests. But when he tries to mention this to Naomi, she refuses to believe it at all. "You're just jealous," she said sarcastically, "because Ashton is the kind of successful person you could never be." This conversation makes Liam realize that mere conference will not change Naomi's mind or save their marriage. He needs to act more strategically, not only to defend himself, but also to get Naomi to recognize Ashton for what he really is in order to prevent further harm to her and Sophie. A few days later, Liam visits the Human Resources Department of Naomi's real estate company, armed with evidence gathered by a private investigator. Instead of making a scene in the office and making vociferous accusations, he calmly stated the facts that Ashton had used his position of authority to develop an inappropriate relationship with Naomi. "I'm not here to retaliate," he told the HR manager, "but because I'm concerned that this behavior may have affected multiple employees and constituted an unhealthy work environment. As a husband who cares about his wife's career development, I felt the need to alert the company to this issue." The human resources manager, a serious middle-aged woman, took careful notes of Liam's statement and the evidence provided. "Mr. Sullivan, thank you for this information," she concludes. "The company has a strict policy on workplace relationships, especially when it comes to direct reporting relationships. We will launch an investigation and take appropriate measures." After leaving the office, Liam did not contact Naomi immediately, but waited for developments. 2 days later, he received an angry text message. "How dare you go to my company and sue? You ruined my career." Liam didn't reply. He knew that the company had started an investigation and that it could be damaging to Naomi's professional reputation. But in his mind, it was a necessary step for Naomi to recognize Ashton for what he was and for her to realize the consequences of her actions. Over the next week, things deteriorated rapidly. Ashton was suspended from the company and placed under internal investigation. Naomi has also been asked to undergo an investigation and has been told she could face disciplinary action because company policy requires employees to report any relationship that could lead to a conflict of interest. Meanwhile, Liam receives an angry phone call from Fiona. "You ruined my daughter's life." She was practically screaming. "You didn't deserve her in the first place, and now you're deliberately sabotaging her career." "I haven't done anything wrong, Fiona," Liam replied calmly. "I'm just letting the truth come to the surface. If Naomi and Ashton choose to develop an inappropriate relationship in the workplace, in violation of company policy, then the consequences should be on them." "You scumbag," Fiona continued to curse. "Naomi could have had a better life if she hadn't been dragged down by you." "Yes," Liam interrupted her. "So tell me, Fiona, where is Ashton now? Is he supporting Naomi? Or has he cleared the air and put all the blame on her?" There was a sudden silence on the other end of the line. Liam took the opportunity to continue. "I suggest you ask your daughter if Ashton told her she was the third person he cheated on her with. If he told her he was thrown out of the company in New York for sexual harassment. And if he told her he'd dump her as soon as things got troubling, as he dumped those women before him." After hanging up, Liam felt a mixture of emotions. He doesn't feel guilty for his actions. Naomi and Ashton did violate company policy. He just exposed the truth. But he didn't derive much satisfaction from their plight either. Only a heavy sadness that a once wonderful relationship had come to this. A few days later, Liam learns from a mutual friend that Naomi has been demoted from the company and transferred out of Ashton's team, while Ashton himself receives a final warning. Even more shockingly, Ashton seems to have begun to alienate Naomi, deliberately avoiding her at work and beginning to approach a new employee in the marketing department. When Liam next saw Sophie, the little girl seemed quieter than usual. "Is Mom okay?" he asked cautiously. Sophie shook her head. "Mom's been crying. She says something's wrong at work. Uncle Ashton doesn't come to the house anymore either." Liam felt a wave of mixed emotions. He doesn't want his daughter to see her mother in pain, but he also knows that Naomi must face the consequences of her choices. Sometimes adults make bad decisions and then have to deal with the consequences. He explained as best he could in a way the 8-year-old could understand. "It's not your fault, and it's not something you need to worry about. Mom will be fine. She's strong." The restaurant's business continues to thrive, in part because of Liam's total dedication to his work. Cooking has become his escape from the pain of reality. It is also partly due to the strong support of the local community. A well-known food blogger happened to visit the restaurant and raved about Grandma Liam's specialty desserts, posting an enthusiastic review that attracted more customers. Liam began to think about expanding the business and adding more staff. He transferred some of the plumbing and electrical work to his assistant and devoted himself more to restaurant management. The success of the restaurant gave him a sense of fulfillment, even though his personal life was still in tatters. One afternoon, while Liam is experimenting with new dishes in the restaurant's kitchen, Naomi suddenly appears in the doorway. She looked haggard, with noticeable dark circles under her eyes, and her once shiny blonde hair now dull. "Can I talk to you?" Her voice was almost pleading. Liam signaled the chef to continue working and directed Naomi to the small office at the back of the restaurant. "What do you want to talk about?" he asked, keeping his distance. Naomi's eyes moistened. "Ashton, he stopped taking my calls. The company gave him another project, and he's now close to Veronica in the marketing department. He even told me that I was the one who overinterpreted our relationship, saying that we were just flirting a bit." Liam doesn't show surprise or gloat. "I'm sorry you're going through this, but I don't know what you expect me to do. I screwed up everything, didn't I?" She burst into tears. "My job, my marriage, my family. It's all ruined." Liam felt a pang of discomfort as he watched his once familiar wife break down like this. But he quickly reminded himself that this was the path she had chosen for herself, and it was her actions that had led to these consequences. Yes, Naomi, you did make some bad choices, he said calmly. But what matters now is how you learn from them and how you take responsibility for Sophie. I want to go home, Naomi said suddenly, grabbing Liam's hand. And we can start over for Sophie. I know I've made mistakes, but I promise to change. Liam gently drew back his hand. No, Naomi, we can't go back in time. Too much trust has been broken, too much damage can't be repaired. We need to move forward and create a new normal for Sophie. Naomi's expression changed from pleading to anger. So you just gave up? 12 years of marriage and you're just going to throw it away so easily. It wasn't me who gave up, Liam pointed out. You made your decision when you chose to betray our marriage vows. I just accepted your choice and made arrangements for myself and Sophie accordingly. Because of Sophie, Naomi said pointedly, you're always hanging on to Sophie like you're the only one who cares about her. Do you know how much I love her? Love isn't just a feeling, Naomi, says Liam. It's also an action and a responsibility. If you really care about Sophie, you should consider how your choices affect her. Naomi is speechless and just looks down and cries. Liam felt exhausted, and the conversation seemed to have no real purpose or end. I've got to get back to work, he said eventually. And if you want to see Sophie, you can do so at the time we agreed upon earlier. I won't stop you from connecting. After Naomi left, Liam sat in his office feeling a deep sense of exhaustion. He used to love this woman so much, used to be willing to do anything for her. Now, he watched her suffer, but couldn't reach out for help because that would only plunge them both deeper into grief. As divorce proceedings move forward, property division and custody issues come to the forefront. Surprisingly, Naomi doesn't make a strong bid for primary custody of Sophie, as if her fighting spirit has been sapped by Ashton's betrayal and professional setbacks. The court ultimately awarded Liam primary custody of Sophie and Naomi visitation rights. On the property side, considering Liam's dedication to and operation of the restaurant, the court allowed him to retain full ownership of the restaurant, while the house would be sold with the proceeds divided equally. On the day the final divorce papers were signed, Liam and Naomi met at the lawyer's office. She looked better than the last time we met, but the gleam in her eyes had disappeared, replaced by a weary submissiveness. I'm really sorry, Liam, she snapped before signing, for everything. I never thought it would turn out like this. Liam nodded, accepting the apology but saying nothing more. Some damage has been done, some words have been spoken, and some things will never go back to the way they were. Leaving the law office, Liam drove to the restaurant, pondering the storms of the past few months along the way. His plan of revenge, if it could be called that, was complete. Naomi has lost everything she valued: Ashton, professional status, and even, in a way, Sophie's respect. But this victory tastes very bitter. In the dining room, Malik was preparing for the start of dinner, and when he saw Liam enter, he asked with concern, "All finished?" Liam nodded. "Yes, officially divorced." "How does it feel?" "I don't know," Liam replied honestly. "The emptiness, the sadness, the numbness. And maybe a little release. Need a drink?" Liam shook his head. "No, I want to work. The kitchen is the most calming place for me." For the next few hours, he immersed himself in cooking, letting the familiar movements and aromas temporarily soothe his inner wounds. It was the haven where he had always found a touch of peace and contentment. That night, when the restaurant closed and the last customer left, Liam sat alone in the empty dining room and looked around. Among the photos hanging on the wall were those of him and Naomi on their wedding day, when they were young and hopeful with only each other in their eyes. Now that picture became a painful reminder of what he had had and how he had lost it. He took down the photo and put it in a drawer, deciding it was time to move on for good. The restaurant will continue, Sophie will grow up healthy, and life will find a new balance. As for the scars, they will never fully heal, but with time, perhaps they will become less painful. A few months later, on a cold winter day, Liam takes Sophie to the park to play in the snow. In the distance, he sees Naomi sitting alone on a bench, seemingly waiting to stumble upon them. She looked even more haggard than when we last saw her. though she was wearing an elaborate coat and scarf in an attempt to keep up her old image. "Can I play with Sophie for a while?" she asked timidly, a plea in her eyes. Liam nodded and stepped back to let mother and daughter build a snowman together. He noticed Naomi smiling genuinely and listening intently to Sophie's every word, as if cherishing this brief moment of togetherness. An hour later, when Sophie starts to feel cold, Liam suggests it's time to go home. "Can Mommy come with us?" Sophie asked innocently. Liam and Naomi exchange a complicated look. "No, baby, Mommy's got other things to do," Naomi said softly, crouching down to be at her daughter's level. "But we'll see you again soon, okay?" Sophie nodded and gave her mother a hug before running to Liam. As they turned to leave, Liam glanced back. Naomi stood there, alone and lost, snowflakes falling in her hair like early gray hairs. In that moment, he felt the true cost of revenge, not just for Naomi's punishment, but for the entire family, including the innocent Sophie and even himself. Revenge brings not fulfillment, but a deep emptiness and regret for the times that cannot be undone, the happiness that could have been. Walking home, Sophie suddenly said, "Daddy, Mommy looks sad." Liam didn't know how to answer. He didn't want to burden his daughter with the complexities and pain of the adult world, but he didn't want to lie to her either. Sometimes adults make choices that break their hearts and the hearts of others, he ultimately said. And it's important that we learn from our mistakes and try not to repeat them again. Sophie thought for a moment, then asked, "Will you and Mommy ever love each other again?" The question hit Liam in the heart. He stopped, squatted down, and looked his daughter straight in the eye. "Honey, some feelings are hard to fix once they're broken. Mom and I will never be a couple again, but we will always be your parents, and we both love you very much. That will never change." Sophie nodded thoughtfully, as if trying to make sense of this complex reality. Upon returning home, Liam receives a call from his ex-mother-in-law, Fiona. Unlike her previous aggressiveness, this time her tone was surprisingly calm. "Naomi has depression," she said directly, "and the doctor says she needs specialized treatment." Liam felt a pang of heartache. "I'm so sorry to hear that. Is she being treated?" "Yes," Fiona replied, a rare vulnerability in her voice, "but she doesn't want to live alone. I was thinking that maybe Sophie could spend more time with her and it might help her recovery." Liam hesitated. On the one hand, he's worried that Naomi's state will have a negative effect on Sophie. On the other hand, he knows that the mother-daughter relationship is important to both of them. "I'm not opposed to Sophie having the occasional overnight stay if the doctors think it will help Naomi and she's stable," he said eventually. "But I need to make sure the environment is safe and Sophie won't be negatively affected in any way." "Thanks," Fiona said briefly, then added, "You know, I never really gave you a chance. I always thought Naomi could find a better one, and it turns out I helped her find the worst." This is the first time Fiona has shown any reflection on her behavior, and Liam doesn't know how to respond. "We all want Naomi to get better," he said eventually, "for Sophie's sake and for her own." After hanging up the phone, Liam stood in front of the window, looking out at the slowly falling snowflakes. Life is sometimes like this snow, which seems gentle when it falls, but accumulates to change the entire landscape. His plan for revenge succeeds, but it doesn't bring the satisfaction he expected. He keeps his daughter and his restaurant, but loses the family he once loved. As for Naomi, she lost almost everything: love, career, family, dignity, and even her mental health. It's a path she chooses for herself, yet it's one that Liam pushes for. In his calm vengeance, he may have maintained his sanity and dignity, but at the cost of that, he also became the man he never wanted to be, a man who seeks justice through the suffering of others. That night, Liam dreams of the past. In the dream, he and Naomi are young, happy, and hopeful, planning their future restaurant and home together. He dreamed of them dancing in the kitchen, of the glow on Naomi's face as she held newborn Sophie for the first time. Woke up with tears soaking the pillow. Liam sat up, feeling a deep sense of exhaustion and bewilderment. The process of revenge is over, but the pain remains. Perhaps the real challenge is not to punish those who hurt us, but to find meaning in life and inner peace again after betrayal and loss. In the darkness before the dawn, Liam makes a decision. He will continue to create a safe, stable home for Sophie. He will focus on running the restaurant and realizing his dream. He will even support Naomi's recovery as much as he can, not for the sake of old feelings, but for the sake of shared responsibility and human compassion. As for the scars inflicted by betrayal and vengeance, they may never fully go away, but in time they will become a part of life, reminding him to cherish what really matters: honesty, loyalty, and commitment to those he loves. For in the complex labyrinth of emotions, the true victory is not to defeat your opponent, but to maintain your integrity and dignity, no matter what betrayals and challenges you face. This is perhaps the ultimate price of betrayal and the most profound lesson of all. It changes all involved, leaving an indelible mark on their hearts and minds, a reminder of the importance of choices and the consequences of behavior. And in a small restaurant in Toronto, Liam Sullivan continues to cook, providing food and warmth to his customers while slowly healing his own heart. One dish, one day, one step after another. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.